So the difference is, in fake news, all you get is a leader that says, believe in me, fear not believing in me, and obey whatever it is I say. That's what media does. That's what COVID was all about. It's just believe. Don't ask questions. Just believe. Fear what you might encounter if you don't believe, and obey whatever it is we say, because we have the power and you do not. And if you don't do what we say, then there will be consequences for you. That's fake news. The reality of it is not so much that they could be right or they could be wrong, but the fact of the matter is it's fake news because there's no evidence presented. No evidence, statistically, no evidence of real world consequences, no evidence of anything other than they tell you to believe. And of course, when they get the university expert who cannot be wrong, he is God or she is God, whatever it is, they are the expert. They are right. You can go to any courtroom in this United States and says, the university expert is right. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they gamble. It doesn't even matter that the cost of being wrong with igniting fusion is the end of life on Earth by incineration. It doesn't matter that they don't know what they're doing with mutilating all nature. It doesn't matter if they're injecting chaos into nature. Nothing matters because the university is God. And of course that's a problem because it is a fake news. They are not God. They're not the expert. Even if they might be the best that we can do, they're still not the expert. They still don't know what it is that they are or are not doing. And you can point to computers, for instance, and say, well, see how much better these are than they were, and I can't do that, so they must be God. But the end, of course, is that they're not God, and unfortunately, what we really do see with computers and things is that instead of nature can fix this, even though humanity was wrong, when they get into the nuts and bolts that hold it all together, we can't fix that. We cannot fix that. In other words, they can cause our extinction because they're messing with things that they don't understand. And as master of all trades or whatever it is, I forget what the claim of, you don't want somebody that thinks they can do everything. And of course the universe says they can do everything. And they're wrong. They can't put back together life. When was the last time that you heard that they actually cured a disease? And I think polio was the last time. And thank God for that. But the end result is, of course, that even though they might have a win, so to speak, with one thing, that doesn't mean they know what they're doing with anything else. No, and no are the consequences of being wrong. Fake news is that the university is God. Fake news is that the university leads life to better things, but of course their fantasy is that you don't have to, you have to pay, but they don't have to pay any debt. And they don't. They don't have to pay any debt. They're in control of government. They hit a number on a computer keyboard and they counterfeit another $1 trillion for themselves. And they pass it along through Wall Street and places like that, whatever they don't take for themselves. And that's your bribe. That's the fake news that everything is okay, when in fact nothing is okay. And it doesn't matter so much. With money it doesn't matter so much because it's just a promise. Money is just a promise. It's not even a number, it's a promise. A promise that we will do something for you in exchange for you doing something for us now. And of course, without resources, nothing can be done. Because that's what work is about. It's about resources. If there are no resources, there is no work. Only the effort and intent to survive, and of course that isn't work, that's survival. So what we need to do is learn all the things that you don't want to learn. For 50 years I've been trying to teach you something, but for 50 years you've been saying, I don't want to know. And of course, knowing something meant change, and of course you don't want to change, you want what you want, and that's all there is to it, and there is no consequences for you because the university tells you there's no consequences for you, and you believe them because you don't want to know what the consequences are, because you figure you can say, I'm innocent, it wasn't my fault, I didn't do it. But of course you did, because you let the universities, who are just former classmates of your own. What former classmate was a god? Really? What former classmate was a god? Or an expert of anything? And no, they didn't. You don't go to college to learn or to think or any of that stuff. You go to college to memorize, memorize what they say, mimic what they say, and repeat what they say, repeat what they do. That's what you go to college to do. It has nothing to do with learning anything, really. I can't imagine there's a place on the entire planet that is more closed off to actual thought than a university. They are completely closed. It's an indoctrination program that the religion of university incorporates into your life and entitles you to be a slave. It entitles you to be a slave. You get to be a slave by the debt that you create in order to get out. What did they actually give you for all your money and all your debt? And the answer is darn little. Although it is what people want, so they go. And people want to be rich, and they figure the university is their best choice. To be rich, that's what they go for, that's what they want. And the end result of that, of course, is just you get into debt for most. Most, I think it's 70-some%, do not end up with the job that they have a degree for. Because in the end, there is no job for that. It's fake news, and of course they don't really promise you that. They just promise you a debt. You know, believe what we tell you to believe. And of course, if you do, then you're entitled to be on the top of the list of those who are indoctrinated properly, so that they will obey whatever it is you tell them to obey. And so that leaves the entire life of society in the hands of a very, very tiny few who indoctrinate the programs that is what you are supposed to believe. And of course, that's what books are for. You can't argue with a book. No, sir, that's what religion is about. You can't argue with a book, and especially if that writer is dead. Then, of course, you really can't argue with the book. You can argue, but it ain't going to do you no good, because this is what the book says. As, of course, is what the primary, the monkey trial of evolution was, in the 20s, I think it was. The evolution came into the picture. See, this looks like that. Literally, that's all it was. This looks like that. And the alternate was that, well, the Bible says, well, the Bible is not the expert. Oh no! But the Bible is not the expert. It was written in the language of men. It's interpreted by the language of men. It's written by men for the purposes of men. How is that perfect? It's just men. So that doesn't mean there aren't valuable things in it. It just means that it's not perfect, and it's not complete, and it's not, God. It's not. It's like a baby bottle. You can start your life with that, but you have to grow up in order to experience growth. You can't just drink the baby bottle your whole life. Anyway, the point is, and I really just take to be an image that you can decide on. So 10,000 people judge 10,000 different ways, and what the hell is that? What have I got to do with you? And the answer is damn little. It's just me. And of course, everybody will say, well, he's just nobody, because he doesn't have the big diploma, and he doesn't he's not wealthy and he's not this and he's not that, and that's absolutely true. None of that. Because the end result is that I didn't have any reason to believe in what they were preaching at the university or any part of the university. And religion doesn't suit me well either, because there's just rules to obey, and rules to obey are okay when you need them. But in order to be beyond that, you have to think for yourself. So the end result of it is, what does the evidence actually prove? That's the part that makes it real news or false news. What does the evidence, not the claim of people who say this is the evidence, that has nothing to do with it. What does the evidence itself prove? And of course, I tried for years, this is the evidence, but of course, you were far too busy trying to get greedy and selfish and throw away the entire world, so you didn't care. So I'm at the last, you're on your last short amount of time to survive this world. Believe that or not, it doesn't matter. You look at the evidence and you will see that it is true. But you have to look at the evidence for yourself. Now, the things that are vastly important, just a ton of them. Water is certainly one of them. And as is proven by the Illinois Water Survey people, they're not going to tell you, because it's their job if they do. They're a politician, there's a leader somewhere that says, you can't inform those people, you'll be quiet or you'll be dead. You throw it out. Have nothing, no payment, no pension, no none of it. So they don't. But they are allowed to tell you what it is you can ask them about, what it is you do ask them about, if you physically go to their place of employment and literally find a way to say, tell me what I need to know about the water supply. What is it that we do know? And they have created, dug down to see where the pollution is, and they have done, various things to make the evidence available to you if you go ask. How much has the water level dropped? And of course, in this area, which is permeable soil and as good a drainage as you're really going to find, it takes 50 inches of rain to equal 1 inch of aquifer recharge. 50 inches of rain before the aquifer that we get all our water from recharges. So the level of the aquifer goes down if we take too much. And of course, ethanol, the thing you put in your car, 15% of what you put in your car today, I think, is ethanol. And that means that enormous amounts of water are being drained for the purpose of ethanol, for the purpose of you get to drive for a teeny bit cheaper, because it's all government funded, and the government funding comes from counterfeiting more money. And of course, they've counterfeited $722 trillion last time I looked, and that means that every human face, whether it's a baby or a prisoner or a bum, so-called, or the CEO, whatever it is, if we divided it equally, we would all have over $2 million in a bank account, or a property investment or something, which means that the money has no value. Or they claim that there's going to be $87 trillion of property and assets transferred, which of course is being hunted down and preyed upon by all kinds of people that you don't understand. You should be very cautious about everything, and of course, the intellectual prides himself on trapping you, but nonetheless. So there's supposed to be $87 trillion of assets being transferred, and the last time I looked, and I haven't looked at debt for a long time, but it was over $100 trillion the last, a couple, 3 years ago. $100 trillion. So what the old people are going to transfer to you is a debt they owe of $22,000, or no, $12 trillion. see how much math works. But the end result is it doesn't matter. Math is supposedly precise. Numbers are supposedly precise. You can do things with numbers, but it can't identify promises with numbers. Because if you take out the facts, if you create fake news, if you create a fake money supply, if you trade debts that can't be paid, a planet that has no resources to pay them, then you end up with nothing but fake news. And of course